So on the podcast today, the Sligo boys are representing because
About
for anyone
time.
who doesn't, dead right, Chan, dead right. But for anyone who doesn't know, any of the Brits watching, Sligo is a town in the west of Ireland, and it's the home of myself and none other than Shan McGinley. How are
And
you?
Westlife. Let's give the boys a shout out as well.
And Westlife. You have to give the
and
Westlife
Sligo
boys a
Rovers,
shout.
Sligo Rovers as well, yeah.
Sligo Rovers, dead
Shamey
right,
Coleman, we made him.
The list goes on and on, lads, I tell you. Yo.
Definitely.
And to add to that is the boy who went over to London, did big things in radio and DJing, Shan McGinley.
Thank
so
you,
for anyone
man.
who doesn't know, it's hard to kind of lay out exactly, what you do, because you do a number of things. So how would you describe yourself?
Yeah, it's a bit mad. I suppose I left Sligo and then decided that one day I was just like, I'm doing nothing. I'd been travelling Europe and the Caribbean and a few other spots with my mates that I grew up with. And I was like, fuck it, man, I'm going to go do radio. We were just talking about it offline. I gave business, computing and digital media a shot for about 12 months. Didn't work out. I think I failed everything. And then I was like, yeah, man, the only thing I really want to do, one of my mates, when I was in the Caribbean, one of my mates was just sitting at night one time and he was like, mate, if I had like a talent in terms of talking and stuff like that, I wouldn't sit around here and waste it. He was like, just do radio, man, you'd be so good at it. And that's what we were talking about. So then I was like, yeah, definitely 100% going to go back and just organise that. So then I did that. And then, I found a course at Point Blank Music College in London. And I went and did that. And that was like 6 months. So it taught you the kind of bare bones and the bolts of radio, I suppose. And then kind of like the tutor itself was like, basically like, don't get your hopes up here. Like, you know what I mean? You've got to go out into the world and get internships and work and become a DJ and become a radio presenter and do everything else that comes with it. So then I remember that sticking with me. I mean, like, right, you can't just walk out of here and into Radio 1 or wherever you want to go. So then, just went from there and started knocking on doors. And that, I suppose that led me to Ministry of Sound Radio, I think. Someone came into Point Blank one day who was like directing Ministry of Sound Radio. So I got his email and I hit him up when I left. And then I think a few months passed, I managed to get, I was working in different music events and stuff like that were in Brick Lane, just again, no pay. Just working to meet people and stuff. And then I got into Ministry of Sound Radio, which was like House of Express 2. I think Goldie was there. Some of the dubstep shows were there. They were pretty big at the time. And then I suppose house music was starting to finally make its way into somewhat, at some stage, going to break into the commercial world again. And then, so then I was there, and then I managed to get from there to Rinse. And then in that main time as well, I found this station called Shoreditch Radio. And I got a show on there, which is very different to what I do now in terms of like they didn't have a radio studio that you guys have here. They had like a music studio with a studio booth. It was the weirdest thing. They just like, right, send us your music afterwards, and then you go in and just chat there for 20 minutes. So I go in and just talk absolute, I've deleted them offline now.
Yeah.
Before I was like, keep them up so people can learn from where I came from.
Yeah.
And then one day I looked back, I was like, no one needs to hear this, man. This will put them on a total different wrong road. Like, you're talking for 20 minutes, dry, no beds underneath you, no nothing. They cut it up afterwards and put it in. But
would you not just record it and then just chop it up and put it in amongst the show?
Yeah, but they'd do all that for you at the time. It's like, didn't know how to do it. And then like they would just chop up, like they wouldn't chop it up. They'd just chop exactly what you said and then put it in between two songs. Yeah. So I was talking for 2 to 3 minutes because when you first start, you think fill the air as much as possible. So I was doing that, and then that was Shoreditch Radio. And then I was like, I need to evolve out of this. And I was working. Then I got in foot in the door at Rinse and was working with Artwork, Youngster, One Man, Boy That I Know as well, doing their shows and a few other shows, and just behind the scenes doing broadcast assistant. And then I found my way into the Roundhouse, which is a venue in London. And then I was up there trying to interview like artists and stuff like that for like some press day. And then I just went missing. It's kind of lockdown. You need key codes and all that. Went missing. I found my way to the radio studio, walked in, and there was this woman there. She was like, no, young, my age. She was the station manager. And she was like, I just walked in. I was like, yo, what's happening, man? Any chance of a show? And she's like, oh, we just closed pilot season. She was like, but we kind of got this breakfast show going. Like, yeah, but it wouldn't be right for you. And I was like, no, it would be. And then I was like, yeah, I'll do a Friday morning show, beats for breakfast, like talking all this. She was like, look, it'd be like slapping a puppy in the face. It was like, you're so enthusiastic, like, let's give you a pilot. So that got me in the door there. And then, and then since then it was like radio presenting was first. And then found I was playing with a lot of music and playing a lot of electronic music that I wanted to support, and hearing a lot of stuff at Rinse, and kind of been exposed to people like One Man who didn't have a genre. They just played whatever they thought was cool and mixed it in this flawless way. So I wanted to be able to learn how to DJ and then support the music that I was finding. And and that just kind of led to doing that, presenting, DJing, and then kind of music discovery. And I suppose that led to other stuff that I do now, like Snapchat, Nike, and then like kind of, DJing on a higher level and kind of having radio shows that kind of broadcast in different countries. Kind of all stems from learning your trade in all those different little pockets.
Yeah. So you mentioned obviously Snapchat and Nike. I mean, if you were to track your trajectory from when you left Sligo, you went to London, you did a point blank course, everything you just said there, how does that become presenting on Snapchat, doing projects for Nike? Like, how do you make that jump?
I suppose it's just like when leaving Sligo, I suppose. I mean, I think it's the Irish way, isn't it? We just leave and it's like, I suppose in the early days it was like, oh, we built New York or we did this, whatever. I mean, there are definitely, people are seeing it right now with Conor McGregor. There's something in the blood there. Like, there's a hustle in that blood, man. Like, we don't, because we've got the banter and the kind of personality, we're going to get away with shit that other people don't. And then we can use that and get in the door and find our way. But we're not phased. Now, I'm not saying every Irish person, but there's a lot of Irish people that aren't phased by the journey or like the big daunting thing of if you don't make it, if you don't do it, are you going to be okay? Because I suppose for years, your uncles or whoever it was left with nothing and then like built like lives for themselves. So like I had uncles that, I never even thought about this till I started talking now, but I had uncles who left with nothing from Sligo and then now like own houses and became like, building construction and shit like that. So I suppose it's that kind of Irish kind of blood of like, oh yeah, we're going to be all right. Like, what's the worst that can happen? So I suppose that tied into like, the hustle of being able to like, you can't tell me I can't do this because that doesn't exist in this world. So all you're going to do is block a door that I'm going to find another way, like I'll break in the window or something. So I suppose that kind of mentality, you kind of like, you don't know you're doing it, but you are doing it in terms of like, yes, I'm doing this and this is going to open the door. And when your dreams or your goals are set so high, then the journey itself, there's all these different ways that you can have. You jump across a ladder, or, you're hop to a different level, and then these other doors or other people are watching or something you might go to. Like with Snapchat, for example, I went, Snapchat launched and then I was just on it. Like whenever it kind of came over the seas to Europe, I was just on it, literally with my cousin who I live with. And back then, just on it, messing around and doing that, and then kind of tying that into being out doing radio shows and DJing and like just having your personality on there. And then someone that I met at a festival years before that, actually with Route 94, when he blew up, she was friends with him and we were all there when he literally, My Love was like the biggest tune. And Artwork, who I worked with at Rinse, he was he was managing Route 94. And then I met this girl called Kate and we literally just had a buzz, had a night out, went back to their house and everyone just had a laugh and stuff. Met her, like you don't even know at that stage, just got on well, stayed in contact with that person. And then she went on to be a creative strategist at Snapchat. And then this is like 2 years later. And then she spotted me doing it. And she's like, oh, you should go for this job at Snapchat. And this time I'm flat broke. And I'm still doing what I'm doing, but I'm like, shit, like I need to pay bills here. So I've gone for this at Snapchat. And then I'm like, yeah, definitely getting this job. Like I went through like 3 tiers of an interview and didn't get it. I'm like, fuck, man. You're proper bummed out. You're like, I thought that was me. So there was something in my gut saying there's something happening there. So I text Kate. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, I'll have a word with Ollie, who's just flown over from LA to launch this team. And then he's like, yeah, he really wants to talk to you about something else. And then he hit me up and like, oh, mate, I've been watching you on Snapchat for the last few weeks because I added you because Kate said to add you because it was funny in what you were doing. And he was like, no, I was like, thought it'd be a massive disjustice with everything else that you're doing in DJing and radio and presenting to stick you behind some laptop and just be like, oh, here, sort out that, content or snaps. He's like, how about, going on foot for us and been out at festivals and working with the artists? He's like, I see you got the hustle and, you know what I mean? You kind of blag and we need a blagger in there. There's something we've tested in America that works really well. So then he was like, yeah, next week are you free? Had a breakfast meeting with him. And then next week he was like, yeah, you're free. And it was British Summertime Festival. And Kendrick Lamar was headlining. And then it was like, next thing you know, you just sided a stage with Kendrick Lamar and you're using kind of that same thing that you've always used to get him to jump on Snapchat for the story or to get it whoever that might have been at the time. Maybe it's like, for them, it's more commercial. Well, so it's like Niall Horan walks through from One Direction, so try get him to jump on Snapchat, do a little interview piece, or throw him the phone, or use all that kind of techniques, and then they build that into a story, and that becomes like a global story.
Yeah, so for I suppose for anyone who doesn't maybe recognize you from those, so what you do is you do the official stories on Snapchat for events like the Brits and certain things like that.
Yeah. So if you like the Snapchat, where it's on the left hand side, and then a Snapchat which is Discovery. So you see like Stormzy or whoever that might be on Snapchat, and then there's these official stories. And so what I do is I'm on the ground at those events, and then I like do little interview pieces, or like make sure that like we get like the right footage that fits in amongst the footage of the artists that submit themselves. Yeah. So it's like an official story, and then it either gets like promoted all around the UK, or else it gets promoted like globally for the Brits. Yeah. So that'd be like a global story.
And for your kind of approach to that, obviously it's a one take wonder kind of thing, right? They walk down the red carpet, you get your chance, you get whatever a Snapchat video is, right? So what's your, like, how do you approach that? Like it must be a tough scenario, like, because if you don't get the one take, they're gone.
Yeah. I remember going up to Ed Sheeran and I was like, and I met him years before this. I was like, met him backstage. It was his dressing room. I swannied into his dressing room because I was stuck backstage at Beat Festival. I was going around having a laugh or whatever. And then there's a bottle of whiskey on the table. I'll have a glass of whiskey. Anyways, it was Irish whiskey. It's like, I'm entitled to it. And then I was like pouring this glass. He goes, someone goes, it's my whiskey. And I said, yeah, but I'm Irish, so it's mine. And then he turns around, he starts laughing. He's like, no bother, man. Like, so it was his whiskey. I was like, it's Ed Sheeran. So then he like had a glass of whiskey or whatever and started having the crack. Like, he won't even remember this, and like I didn't really meet him since. And then like, so we all had a rave or whatever backstage again. I would say to anyone, I look dead in the, if you can sneak backstage at a festival, man, and just like get into situations, I find that will just like definitely open up your career. Like, even just giving you confidence, or even going,
or even just convince him to go on Snapchat then.
Well, this is years later. I met him on Snapchat. I met him at the Brits. And this is a scenario of like 10 seconds and you fuck it up. Yeah. So then I turned around and was like, what if da-da-da. And I forgot that he actually didn't drop an album that year. He was there to appear, to go on stage with Stormzy. So I was like, if you win tonight, you're giving the award to Stormzy instead. And he's like, I'm not nominated tonight, mate. And then I'm just like, and then after he's laughing and I'm laughing, I'm like, can't use that. But so there's 10 seconds where you think, you've got 10 seconds with Ed Sheeran. He's already busy because
he's gone, right? He's moved on to the next.
He's gone. Yeah. He's gone.
Because it's a media frenzy on that carpet, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So he's gone. And, you obviously don't text the team and go, after messing that, you keep that. Send that to a WhatsApp group and go, hey, look at this. That's how you don't do it. But then on other times, you get 10 seconds. You just got to make it happen.
But I mean, most of the time, you do nail it though. I've seen a few goals.
Yeah,
Cuba
exactly.
Gooding Jr. was one. Very good one. Cuba Gooding Jr. Didn't you?
What a boy.
Yeah. So what's your strategy? Like what's your, you've got a 10-second clip, you're on the red carpet, you've got that thing. What's your mindset?
I think the mindset for anything, right? It's like in terms of like, for me being a DJ, I'd like be, Love Box or whatever, Annie Mac on a Friday night when she take it over. Like, you'd be watching Annie and just be like, oh man, she's a hero and amazing what she's done, and especially coming over from Dublin. But at the end of the day, she's incredible, but she's human. So all of these people, for another people, they're staring at them like, oh my God, they're like, you're looking at people like they're aliens. They're just human. And the minute that you see that and you talk to them the same way that you would one of the boys at home, or your mate or your girlfriend or whatever it is, it opens them up. So I always said, like, the most important time when I used to do interviews like on YouTube, whether that's like with Skepta or Raekwon or Annie Mac or anyone that I used to interview, the most important time was not when that red light is on and you're on air. The most important time is before that, because you just talk about normal stuff, man. Like, just like, if you're from Ireland, they're from Ireland, talk about Ireland. If you've had a burger before you come in and it was shit, or you've had like, you're out for a few pints last night and you're not feeling too well, then talk about that. Just make yourself as normal as you are, because they're the exact same.
Does it happen often to you where like you interview someone and they're so by the book in the actual interview, but then off camera their sound?
Yeah, like, it depends on the media training. Like.
Yeah.
I like, at that stage I kind of switch off. It's just a job then. Like, or else I kind of battle it to get them. But I think they really are like when I work with a girl called Carly Wilford, and our kind of like dual, outlook when we used to do these interviews for iMusic TV, a website that she set up, was we don't want the interviews to be boring, So either they're going to be a good laugh, or else we're going to talk about real shit, like the real struggles and stuff. And so when you ask people questions, we constantly had feedback from the artists of like, oh man, that was amazing. Like really enjoyed actually having a conversation, and they'd forget the cameras are on. Because in these press areas, they'd be getting 30, 40 interviews at once, and they're getting asked the same shit. When's the album coming out? What are you wearing? All this shit that doesn't matter. But when then someone comes along and it's like, they ask them real questions of like, you know, how are you feeling? Like, do you know what I mean? Like you've just done 30 days back to back. What's the pressures of the tour? Does the label, is it a lot more pressure now that the label's investing $3 million behind you, like, and all this? And they're just like, you're just tapping into stuff they want to talk about.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a PR looking at you, being like,
that's what I was about to say. Yeah. Is it not a constant struggle? Maybe it's different. Well, like obviously with the Snapchat stuff, but when you are doing like official stuff where you're almost, the reason you're there is to ask those questions. They want it. Everyone, you know,
I mean, the thing is, you can be generic. Well, if you want to be generic and want to play it safe, then fine, play it safe. It works for a lot of people. But if you want to do what you have in your gut, or, you know, stand out and ask the stuff that you actually genuinely want to know. I mean, the interviews I watch are like interviews with like Jay-Z and Kanye. So it's like Zane Lowe's interviews back in the day when he'd interview them. He'd ask like the stuff that matters, man. He wouldn't be asking about like when's the album coming out, or he wouldn't be asking about Kanye about like, you know, is it true you're going out with Kim Kardashian or something like that? He wouldn't be asking any of the normal popular culture. He'd be asking about the album, who made it, what created this song, like where he's got Kanye going crazy about fashion and how he wasn't accepted in the fashion world. And it's the same with like, you know, any kind of artist that you want to talk to. If you're going to ask stuff that they genuinely want to talk about, or they haven't even thought about talking about, then they're going to be more open to talk to you, and they're going to remember you. The biggest thing is if they remember you, that's a big deal. So next time you come into thing, you're not some stranger. You've got like another, it's like you've done an episode 1 with them. Now next time you interview them, it's episode 2. Or it's just a thing where that person rates you, and then you're backstage somewhere and it's like not even a thing. It's just like you get to know them, and then sometimes gradually you just become friends out of that interview.
Yeah.
As a presenter.
Do you not feel that you have to appease the PRs in order to get access?
Yeah, if you want, like, but in terms of, it depends. Like, I found that, like, you know, you're not there to piss off a PR. But if an artist is, like, it happened to me before I interviewed Kyle Cox, and it was for Snowbombing. It was at Snowbombing, and I interviewed him, and we just had a laugh, man. There was, like, you know, I asked him how he got on the night before. It's a bit of, like, how do you get on with his sleep, man? This place is a bit mad because it was so busy. He just started talking about, there's, like, some construction going on outside his window. So he first started talking about that, and then we moved into, like, you know, talking about EDM, like the wave that's going on right now in the US at the time. This is like 5 years ago. And again, he just like enjoyed the conversation, because before that he had MTV asking him what he wears and all this. Like, we all know Kyle Cox isn't going to be an icon of fashion. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, and then someone else from London Living asking him where he eats and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, then some kid will come in and start asking him questions like that. And then I emailed his manager, was walking off, his manager was like, send me that interview, like, we'll love to share it. And then he did share it, and a load of people see it, and then, you know.
Do you find, is often the case where, like, you think it's a really good interview, and you're like, I hope to God they share this?
Oh, yeah, you always got to think they're going to share it, man. Even if they don't, you got to think it, because then it will happen. But if, like, you know, I mean, you could do 100 interviews, you know, 2 of them will get shared. But it's also about, like, that kind of, you know, you just got to.
Who would be, like, your dream interview?
Oh, man. Jay-Z. Jay-Z. Jay-Z, definitely. Jada Pinkett. You know Jada Pinkett?
Yeah.
Yeah, Will Smith's wife. But she, so I'm a massive Tupac fan. And she knew Tupac. Like,
oh, really?
She was friends with him, grew up with him. So Jada Pinkett. And, yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 of them. Jay-Z, Jada Pinkett, and Leonardo DiCaprio.
It's an unusual one, because I think for us on the podcast here, and like when any of the interviews we've done, we've never actually had a radio presenter on it. Yeah. You know, it's always DJs, or it's always kind of producers and stuff. So it's quite a different aspect for us. So I suppose for anyone who is interested in radio and stuff, like, breaking in now, what mindset do you think you need to bring? You touched on the fact that, like, you know, don't try and be a bit different, like all that kind of stuff. But if you were in that position now, what mindset would you bring? How would you do it?
I suppose the main thing is, I mean, a DJ doesn't go and look at Jackmaster playing and then sit there and go, oh, I don't want to sound like him. I don't want to be able to mix like him. A DJ doesn't listen to Scream, or a producer doesn't listen to Scream, or Chemical Brothers, or Peggy Goo, or whoever that might be, or Black Madonna. They don't listen to their music and go, I don't want to be on that level. So it's the same for a radio presenter. Don't listen to Annie Mac and not want to be on her level. So that means like she's doing stuff that you're taking for granted in terms of how she's dealing with like the information that's been handed to her, how she's dealing with the socials, how she's just naturally herself. So I used to take that apart. I'd listen to like Annie or Zane Lowe or Trevor Nelson, and then like I'd listen to how exactly they were doing their links, which is second nature to them now, but they had to learn that at some stage. And it's like, if you want to go to that level and be that good of a presenter, then you need to learn the phonetics of how they're doing it, or the process in which they're doing it. And how, you know, you can get caught up as a producer, I suppose, is the exact same thing. You can get caught up. You get taught all this stuff in music production, and then you're doing that, and you do all that, and then your tunes are sounding generic. Same as a radio presenter. You get taught all this stuff like, oh yeah, A through B to C, or, you know, how you do a link, or how you talk, and how you get the socials out there, and how you keep it interactive to the audience, and all this stuff. And next thing you know, you listen back to yourself, and you just sound like a robot. And it's the same as a music producer. You learn all these techniques, and then you just put them to action. Next thing, you sound like a generic radio presenter or music producer, because you have not put any creativity to it. And your creativity in terms of radio presenting is your personality. So you have to find a way to learn the skills and then bring your personality on top of that, and stand out, be different, and then make people like the reason people listen to Annie Mac for all these years is because they feel like that's their best mate. Like they feel like when they listen to her, it's like their big sister or their cousin or someone like that. They feel like they know her. And it was the same, like, you know, with Zane Lowe. I suppose you listened to him because he was just incredible at music. He knew things, and, you know, it was this kind of fountain of knowledge that you listen to. So you find what your thing is. So if you're funny, you know, then maybe it's like you're just a bit of a laugh and you're one of the boys, and people listen to you because they feel the same way. Or, you know, if you're a geek about music, then hone that and be that. So it's like, I know like loads about music, and that's what I know, and I've got this and that. Just don't be like the generic person who's like, oh yeah, this is coming out on Defected next week, new one coming from the sounds of, and all these generic things. Like if you do that, then you're just another, you know, DJ. You're not going to be a radio presenter, or you're not going to be a broadcaster. You know what I mean? The thing about a broadcaster is like they feel like they're in your living room, and all that landscape's changed because of the power of the internet and Spotify, Apple Music, and all these things. But, you know, there's still a massive space, and people are starting to realize it more for the presenter or the broadcaster and the kind of selector of music, person who discovers the music for you. So I think that, yeah, like find out how they're doing it and take it apart and then master it yourself.
But I mean, obviously, if you're training to do anything, you practice, right?
Yeah.
You know, we touched on it earlier, how you kind of want to bury the stuff, the bad stuff in the past. So what's the technique? How do you practice? How do you get better? Like, what did you do?
I used to go into the studio in Roundhouse. I used to go into the studio just for no reason, just record radio shows, or record a demo that you could send to someone. Like practice a link like 50 times, literally, where you're just trying to get all this information and make it slick, and it's like sounding unnatural and then making it natural, and just like practicing radio shows. It's like there's a thing in radio called air miles, which is the same as a pilot. Like, you know what I mean? How many miles have you done? Like, how many hours have you done on radio? So if that meant, like, at once there I was doing 3 radio shows a week, 2-hour radio shows, just so I could be on radio more, be popping up, have more guests, you know, and just be out there. But also the main thing was, like, I used to be mixing live on 2 of the radio shows where I wasn't really confident as a DJ. And I didn't really know, you know, how to mix live on radio and present at the same time. So then I was like, right, well, if I keep doing it, it's going to be second nature. So then I could become better as a DJ. And sometimes you clang a mix live and all that. And so also as well, you're getting a chance to support more music. So I suppose if your thing's going to be a music taste making, you know, there's kids out there all around the world that just have not been supported on radio. They don't care how many listeners you have. They just have never been played on radio. No one's heard about them. And it gives them confidence to move on to their next release or the next piece of music. So like you mean something to them. So be that person that's like tweeting about them, posting them on Instagram or Snapchat, and then playing their music on radio, and they can tune in and tell their colony of friends. And then a lot of times in the early stages, that's where how people become friends with the internet and stuff. So I've got loads of friends that like in America and all over that would have just supported them like 3 years ago on Roundhouse or 4 years ago. And now we're just all mates. Like, do you know what I mean? And then we hit each other up, or they send me their release and I'll pass it on to other people that I know that would maybe represent it or play it on radio, and or maybe labels or whatever. And then they kind of, you know, post about my radio show, or, you know, if I do a presenting interview or anything like that, or a job with Nike, they're the people who are sharing it and posting it. And that's just because you're just all kind of backing each other. And you kind of make this kind of colony of people who support each other. And the only way you can do that is by getting out there.
So I think the underlining factor would be something new, whether that be in your links as a presenter, in the music that you're bringing through.
Yeah,
that's kind of the message that you pioneer? Is that like it has to be something a bit new, it has to be something a bit different because
it has to be, and it's also as well as you just have to put in the work, man. And the only way you can get good on radio is to be live. The only way, like you can do pre-recorded shows for the rest of your life, but you know, and I know that like pre-recorded shows you can make yourself sound amazing, but it's when it's live and like stuff doesn't go right. Like there's nothing worse than being live for a half an hour on radio and then staring, like looking over, and be like, yeah, and then like you've got a guest there who's mixing and DJing and stuff, and then you look and there's nothing recording, then you get a text and say it's not going out on air. So you need to learn those things so that you value those mistakes, and you won't make them again when you get a shot at a bigger station or a bigger profile, whatever that might be. So it's like, and then even like mixing, like you can imagine, right? If you're not getting gigs live as a DJ, but you're a radio DJ, then it's a different thing, isn't it? It's like you can mix all day in your room, and you definitely keep mixing in your room, but it's not going to push you to like really think about honing that skill until like you've got to do it live. Like everyone knows that they learn the most stuff they do when it's live, and they can't go back, and they kind of have to show up and perform. So if you can do a radio show, if you're a DJ and a presenter, that you can mix both of those together and like be sick at DJing and be sick at mixing those tunes and be doing radio broadcasts, and you're just going to make yourself stronger, and you're going to be doing it for longer, and you're going to be doing it in higher kind of pressure areas, which is going to make you better at the end of the day. So put yourself in all those situations. Don't like sit back and do a mix and then pre-record a load of links and make yourself sound like good, because you're just going to sound like any other DJ. And then you got to remember as well, every DJ has a radio show right now. Every DJ is on mix.
What radio shows do you have at the moment?
So I've got Sister Radio, which is set up by me and Carly Wilford. I've worked with for years, and that's like more bass music, so like UK music and UK bass, so like My New Lang or like Holy Goof mixed with like a girl called Rez in America, or all these different kind of forms, and grime. We also play a little bit of house and techno on there as well, but we kind of focus like a lot harder on the new wave of UK bass music that we're most passionate about. Because we kind of came from like the early dubstep stuff and working at Rents and been around One Man and stuff like that, and that became like the sound that we used to DJ and search for online. So that broadcasts every week on Dash Radio in LA, which is kind of 7 to 8 every Friday. And Dash Radio is like this mad station. It's in, and people, they just signed like this new deal with GMC which is like a massive car manufacturer. So they've got like Snoop Dogg's got a station on there that's called Cadillac FM. So they've got all these different stations, and then they've got Dash One, which is their main station. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, because one time Floyd Mayweather was in there doing an interview, and then we came on after playing UK bass music. Like it's just the way that their station is set up.
It's a big move, hey.
Yeah.
Moving to LA, moving to America, breaking America is a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's what we kind of use that as the entrance into America. And then we also broadcast every Tuesday on. So we make the show in London and make it live and then edit it and, make it sound like as good as possible. And then we used to get premieres. So we used to push and hold on every show so we get a premiere. So we got Thump to premiere it when we did Set Troxler and Red Light we had on the show. We got Thump to premiere it. We had DJ Mag premiere it. Had like Nest HQ, Red Bull when we had Benga on the show, and a bunch of those guys. So we're kind of changing how radio was looked at, because if people aren't listening to radio as much, like how do we change this? And we were like, let's just treat it like we're artists. Like when an artist drops a release or makes a release, they go for a premiere. They go to get blog support. So we were like, why shouldn't radio DJs do that if it's going to be under their own name? So that's what we did, and then we used that, and that kind of catapulted us into the scene.
So you premiered a whole show?
Whole show,
whole show?
Yeah. We premiered, like Thump, we premiered the whole show. Like literally them.
How did that tactic work? Because were you the first people to kind of do that, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know if anyone done it before, but yeah, that was our process in terms of like artists are premiering stuff on blogs, then why can't radio DJs?
Yeah.
So then we'd get content and mixes, and we had this 5-minute mix called the Save the Rave mix, which was like, we'd like intro it as like, all right, you just turned up at a rave, like the DJ before you is just like, completely destroyed the place. No one wants to be there. Played clangers, played a load of your tunes. Everyone's ready to go home. What do you step up with in the next 5 minutes? And then they'd make it like 5 minutes of just tunes that they'd use to save a rave. And we had that. So that was kind of this unique thing in the early episodes that was like, We had Benga do it. We had Chris Lorenzo do it. We had like loads of different people do it, and then up and comers do it. And then we had like interviews with like Novelist or a grime artist, Shy FX, Seth Troxler. We had all these different people come on as interviews. And then we would then go to the blogs and be like, yo, we got this or whatever. And then we would like use our existing relationships to try get a blog to premiere it. And then we used a lot of American blogs because they didn't, get those offers or didn't support UK music. And grime was kind of bubbling and they kind of liked it, but they didn't get a chance to write about it, or they just weren't getting offers. So yeah, we would just I used to hit up 100 blogs and get like one reply. But then we just keep doing it and searching. We used to use a technique, like we still do it now. Like, so like if we're going to premiere a Chris Lorenzo mix, who's writing about Chris Lorenzo right now? Like what blogs? And then we'd find the writer who wrote about it, not the blog. And then we'd hit the writer direct and see if they'd do it. And then like, if you have 5 or 6 writers, then you might get one of them. So we would use that technique, like spend a whole day just hitting up people. And then we'd use it and use that to kind of get promo and then get the blogs then to sign on to be like, all right, we'll write about it. But blogs sometimes don't get many clicks these days, but their SoundClouds were pretty strong. So then we get the SoundCloud, the blogs to repost it. And then we go through our track list and then we'd hit up every single producer that we played and ask them to repost it on SoundCloud.
What's the success rate on something like that?
Yeah, I mean, like 5% maybe, but like it'll work.
It's worth it, yeah.
Yeah, like Tump reposted once and it was like 20,000 on a radio show. It was like 20,000 on SoundCloud and all into like, our stats in America just boomed. And then
what was the factor in Thumper posting it? Like what?
Yeah, because they did the premiere and then we asked them afterwards to repost on SoundCloud because they've got like 90,000 on SoundCloud. And then just like was like, oh, would you go for it? And they're like, the guy was like, yeah, no bother, just repost it straight away. And then like we would use like, we wanted to build a bridge between the UK US scenes. And we were kind of taking a risk of playing a lot of stuff that the UK do not, like guys like 12th Planet and stuff. Like we just got on with the people. We've seen it like as in like, this music we think's cool, but the UK is not massive fans of it. But at the same time, if we want these US fans to hear this UK stuff.
But are the US actually into that bass music? Like,
yeah, they definitely are. Yeah, they're definitely. They're into grime and they're into like the internet's opened up everything. Yeah. So when they're like when people are talking about the US fans, it's like, Detroit and Chicago and New York created like house music and techno and it came from there. But then after that, like it had the boom and stuff. I don't think, I think that kind of scene kind of went away or stayed with one generation and then colonized the world in terms of they all like got massive on it. But then the UK kid or the US kids kind of got lost within that and they were like hip hop and everything else came in. And then I suppose EDM blew up to them and then everyone slagged off EDM. And it's like, I mean, I'm not a fan of EDM music. It's not what I listen to. But there's an opportunity there, which is like, if they're listening to that and it's dance music, then what if we were to play them something that's like a little bit deeper and like got like a bass sound and brought it in as a bridge and sat down under that, and when the EDM bubble bursts, and there's 100 million kids listening to it, what if you were like a radio show or a crew or a load of DJs that were playing something that wasn't a million miles away from it?
Yeah, often EDM is the starting point.
Yeah, and also as well, EDM was this dirty name, like, and it was just the way the Americans have to label something. Like, you can't go to America and like just like they want to know that they found it, like, and they want to know that they have to put a name on it. So EDM to them is dance music. So like rave music that we listen to, or like anything that anyone listens to, they call EDM. So like that was their thing. So it's the same with hip hop or whatever. They just, they have to label it. But I think there was definitely an opportunity with that. And so we kind of used that in terms of like, we're like, right, what happens if these people listen to it? And we can get them over to this sound and make them listen to what we want them to listen to, or, what we think is cool. And, to this day, it's still been pretty positive, and like people are definitely starting to mess with it, especially with the grime stuff. Even though they're listening to grime stuff, then we're playing like My New Lang or Flavor D or, whoever that is in the bass scene. And then we're like pushing names. We still play like Black Madonna tracks and like Peggy Gou tracks and, Scream tracks, even like now like techno tracks. We put it all in one space. We're like, look, here's an hour of music that we think is sick. Go listen to it. Yes, there's going to be a lot of focus on bass music, but then we're also sliding in all this different stuff.
Do you feel like it's emerging in the fact that where you are now, say the stuff that's quite big here, when you go over there and you start releasing it, you feel like you were here a few years ago?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're kind of ahead of the game over there, or is that kind of
definitely? I mean, over there, when I was over there in January, and it's like they just can't believe they're getting to meet people playing all this new sounds and stuff like that. They love it, because SoundCloud and all that. That's where they find their music, and that's where stuff comes out. Like they got SoundCloud rap and all that. So they're just like, they're very open to just hear brand new stuff that they haven't heard before, and like after they've heard it, they're just on it.
I think it's because though mainstream media in America though, it literally throws just what is big at that time. Yeah. In fact, we both DJ'd over in America before, and like I was in the kind of VIP area playing house stuff, and like the amount of times you get this one guy who'd come up like, man, no one plays this type of music. What is this? Joe, I love it, because it's not because they're almost just it's because they haven't been exposed to it, as opposed to they don't like it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So if you're kind of the one,
they just go to exactly what you said. They go to whatever is available. So like I went to one club, and it's like they're coming out of this like really noisy drop every 4 seconds kind of stuff, and it's like you can tell that even the crowds and stuff are bored, and like they're kind of in that, and like it's like you said about America. It's like, and America's main thing is money. So if something's making money, there's people up the top of America that will wrench it till every dime is done. Yeah. And they'll be like, right, where's the next thing? And that's what their agents do. And that's what their club's done. And that's why Vegas exists. So like all of these things. But inside that, there's still people who might have went to a festival in America and listened to some EDM act. And then that was their first introduction to dance music. And they were like, oh yeah, I went to a dance festival. I had a good time, but the music wasn't for me. And then they hit SoundCloud. And next thing you know, they're finding Scream or their Lofa or, you know, whoever that might be, the girl called Rez that's out there at the moment making sick music. They're finding all these new people. They might find a mix from Jackmaster, like the Martinez brothers. They might find the Martinez brothers, but they started with Calvin Harris. Like that's the reality of what's going on now. So anyone who then blackens that and says, oh no, it's shit or whatever, is just like missing out on an opportunity.
And Swedish House Mafia are very topical at the moment of obviously filming this, but they made their comeback in Ultra.
Yeah.
I think in Ireland, no matter what most people say, when Swedish House...
Well, I remember seeing him in Oxygen back in the day, man, and I knew nothing about dance music. I seen Calvin Harris drinking a pint live on stage. I was like, the dude's a rock star. But he was cool back then. Do you remember he had that tune... he used to be singing and stuff.
Yeah. Before he
living in the 80s. That was banging back then.
And he played Cuba.
Oh man, I would tell you I seen in Cuba, and then remember Cuba. This is Galway.
Cuba in Galway, yeah.
Friday.
Right.
Yeah, you know David Prince.
Yeah.
You know his other thing, Friday.
David Prince, Eric Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday. Friday played in Cuba and Galway.
But upstairs in a room of 150 people. No. So upstairs in Cuba, there's another room, right? It had a different name. We're talking 2012.
Wait, what's Cuba now?
It's Bentley.
McGettigan's.
No, McGettigan's now. It's a
how did it go to that? There was someone tweet in or like message us and tell us what the room upstairs in Cuba. But it was Eric Prince and he was under Pride Day, and I mean everybody was rocking. There was only 150 people in the room, and like I knew very little about dance music. Someone booked him and brought him in, but he wanted to play his alias and wasn't getting bookings. And then like some promoter in Galway was like, "Yeah, I will book you," and they booked him under Pride Day. And he came in and it was like only 150 people. But like the Roisin Dove, man.
Yeah.
Like the people that used to play in there. Like,
what? Did they get electronic acts?
Back in the day, yeah.
Really?
Like, yeah. They used to have mad people playing there, man. What? And that was like 2012. They would have like crazy, like Bloody Beetroots in there.
Yeah. They play Soul Chill as well, actually.
Yeah. Who else used to
that
be?
That hotel's like closed now.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Scream played there.
In Roisin Dove?
Yeah, it was mad. And then, what's his name? From the Libertines.
Oh, God.
The lead singer.
That's beyond my realm of...
same.
I don't know.
Lads, come on. Doherty. Pete Doherty.
Pete Doherty, yeah.
He played in it. My mate met him.
Yes, Dave.
Yes, Dave.
Big up Dave.
Dave, 2 years sitting here now.
Sit in, man. Give yourself a wave.
Sit in here now, Dave.
But yeah, lads, he played there. He just played there one day.
Yeah. To be fair though, Galway has a good music scene, and it always has.
I remember seeing Howard Marks, right? You know the fella, Mr. Nice, the big hash smuggler. I remember seeing him in the Hawkswell in Sligo, right? He did like his comedian stand up, whatever, right? We went to see him.
Yeah.
And like the whole of Sligo was stoned there because they were all like, "Oh, Howard Marks is here, let's get on," and everyone's in there. We're like. I mean, you're looking at the smell of ash in this Hawkswell place, which is normally pristine for all these plays. And then after, he's like, "Yeah, I'm playing a DJ gig down at McGarrigle's, this small bar." Actually, my first ever DJ gig in Sligo was there. And yeah, Howard Marks is just there, right? He's got like a mixing desk like that and a laptop plugged into it. And he's just playing tunes. He's letting the tune run out because they're all coming off his laptop. He's just playing He's playing mad techno. Everyone's going mad. There's t-shirts swinging in the air and shit. And it's just like shit like that you don't get anywhere else, man. Howard Marks decides he's going to do a DJ gig in Sligo, and it's rammed.
Sligo is, I suppose, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's just kind of taken off recently. Hey,
yeah.
Are you proud of it?
Oh, I love it, man. I'm proud of Brayman Hamo, and it's mad. Like Melody and me be good pals, man. He used to be on my radio show back in the day, and just kind of started doing things at similar times. And I met him at festivals and stuff like that. He's just a brilliant guy. And I used to always play his track "Keep On," man. He's got this tune "Keep On." Oh man, we used to start our sets with it. The first ever sister sets, which would be like me, Carly back to back with Sergeant Pokes as MC. We'd start with that. It's just a banger, man. And
he's a sick producer.
Oh man, he's mental, man. He used to he had some of the last releases on Shy FX's label, Digital Soundboy. So he was making that kind of hardcore, hardcore UK sound, kind of ravey sound. But one day I was like, tweeted something about Sligo, and he just messaged me. He goes, "Sligo's mental last night," and then I've checked. I didn't even know he was playing. Him and Denson Pika are playing in Sligo on a Wednesday night.
Yeah,
I was like, big up Faint and all those guys for doing that. Yeah, because that's mad. Do you know what I mean? And Jackmaster played there a while ago, and Scream was supposed to play, and he just couldn't make it because of
Detroit Swindle, Jackmaster.
Yeah, mental. Because I remember back in the day though, there was a period where it was mad. We had Coolio play. E17 was playing. Someone threw their boxers, right? The main guy from E17 in the Clarence, right? Someone took off their boxers. 17. I'm not going to name who did it, but I know who did it. And they took off their boxers, right? In the club on the top tier. Clarence was mental, great place. And everyone used to be like just Friday, Saturday night, Thursday night was mental in there. Someone took off their boxers, man, and threw them.
At E17.
And landed on the lead singer's head, and he just threw the boxes off and freaked out and left. And then all of the town's like, hey! Do you know what I mean? Everyone's just paid to see someone do that to him. But then there was Coolio played there. Who else was there, man? No, but there was some good DJs as well. Like, who else was there? Deadmau5. Remember him back in the day? I wasn't a Deadmau5 fan, but he played.
Did he play Galway?
He played. He probably did. Yeah, he played Sligo.
Rumored to play Galway.
Yeah, I didn't like his music, but I remember seeing him play there. But there was some good DJs. Didn't they get Sasha and Digweed before?
Oh God, was that?
Do you know who played Monroe's recently?
Who?
The Game.
What?
Yeah, the game is doing a world tour.
How dive is his career taking? If you're
What's he thinking?
Monroe's, man. Monroe's. Yeah. To be fair,
is that not like a comedy club?
No, Monroe's is like a live venue, but it's like for mostly it's bands. They do, to be fair, they do nights there as well, like Refuge and stuff like that. Like Dennis Souza, but yeah, the Game, man. To be honest, I didn't see.
How did he end up there, man? Coming from Compton to Monroe's and Galway, and just been like, here, man, it must be brilliant.
He drank a pint of Guinness on stage.
Yeah.
So
of course, what a boy.
Of course,
go on, my son.
But I mean, he's selling out shows all over Europe now.
He's one of those guys who could just go out and do it. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, the Game had the documentary album, and give him his big ups. That was a hard album. Yeah. And like, he's a real gangster as well. You don't fuck with that fella, man. He will punch your head in. Yeah. So
you never met him?
Never met him. I've met Dr. Dre a few times.
Have you?
Really?
Yeah. Did you watch his documentary?
Yeah, I watched it before when it first came out. I illegally streamed it. But yeah, no, I met him out in LA, man.
It's called The Defiant Ones.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. It's just got premiered on Netflix, isn't it, with Jimmy Iovine?
Sick.
But when it first came out, it was on HBO first, and then I watched it. But yeah, I met him. I just arrived in LA, and then we just had premiered the.
Is this before or after Beats
Beats just had launched, yeah, and then I was out in LA to promote our radio show and just meet up with mates and start putting foundations and kind of the music we're doing in America. And then I was walking through the place, and then my mate comes out and she goes, "Oh man, you won't believe it! Dr. Dre's out there, man. He's having dinner." And I was like, man, I'm definitely giving him the radio show without a doubt. And then I was sitting having a drink or whatever, and I just kept my eye on him. And then he's getting up to leave, and I'm like, because I was like, I'm never disturb someone when they're eating dinner because it's just rude and annoying. So then I just hopped over two people, ran out, man. I was like, just skipped through two people, man, that he was with, and then just tapped him on the shoulder. He just turns around, and I'm like, that point, that's Dr. Dre. And then I was like, all right, man, what's happening? Any chance could grab 2 minutes of your time? And he's like, yeah, why not? And then I was just like, yeah, I'm making this radio show. I know you just like soul beats. You're doing it with Apple. And I was like, I think you need this. And then, and then I just like, he was like, yeah, all right, what up? Yeah. Send it to me. And then he was like, gave me his email there and then. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to send you this now. Yeah, no, I swear to God. I have his email on my phone. And then I sent it, and then I was like, yeah, cool. And then I was just walking off, and I spotted, like, the dude that I had skipped through was Warren G, because it's his brother. So then I was like, fuck. And then I was about to walk off, and he goes, yo, what's up? What's your name? And then I was like, Shan McGinley, man. And then he turned around, and he goes, cool, I'm going to remember that. And then I went back to my mates, I was like, write the email now. So I wrote this email, sent the link to the radio show, thought nothing of it, closed the fucking phone over, and then like 20 minutes look back, he's like, cool, listening now. So he was just listening to the radio show. And still to this day, I send him some hip-hop stuff that I listen to.
Does he ever reply?
Yeah, he does reply, but he's bluntly honest, man. Like, the guy doesn't mess around. I sent him one thing before.
Hang on.
And he's like, I just think it's okay.
You're sending your radio stuff to Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
And he replies.
Yeah, he replied, he listened to it. Obviously, I'm not on Beats 1 now, so obviously it didn't work to the whatever I wanted. But Dr. Dre heard me, so, you know. I'd probably fucking blacklisted. He probably went in and goes, here's this radio show. Here's this radio show. If you fucking hear it anyway, make sure it gets nowhere.
I mean, man.
I go through Compton and a lot of people are after me. It's like, hey man, you ever come to Sligo town, yeah?
If he walks through Cranmore, baby.
Yeah, if he walks through Cranmore, I'd ring a few people. I don't live in Cranmore, but I know people.
To be fair,
if he ever went into Foley's in Sligo, I'm telling you. No, me and Dre are cool, honestly.
That to be fair, that's bad. I want to name drop a few more, because for people who don't know the amount of people that you've interviewed and met, it's the list is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
Luka Modric, like all those boys.
Yeah.
How did all that come about? Like,
so I started working about last year. I started working with Nike, and then just started like curating ideas. So like the Snapchat thing happened, that became like an epidemic in terms of stories. So then every brand and everyone then had moved to stories. So then Instagram robbed the idea and launched as Instagram stories, and then everyone was either on Snapchat or on Instagram and Snapchat. And then the brands had all these producers or like, you know, people that had ideas, but they didn't have anyone who really had the art of storytelling laid down, visual and narrative storytelling. So then Nike hit me up and they found me online, and then they hit me up, had a meeting with them, and they were like, yeah, we really want you to come in, work on some ideas and do some stuff. And then I was like, cool, so that works. And then and then I just went in, and we had like this first thing we had was like an event which was like for the release of a new boot called the Hypervenom. And we had this like digital goal that was the first ever goal that was made that was totally digital. So if you hit the net, it told you like points for how fast it was going. It told you the speed. And then if you missed, it like sent a taxi across the screen. It had emojis pop up. Yeah. And then we built this place called the Collins Music Hall. So we built it in there, and it was like a dungeon. It was all set to be like, you know, Fight Club, the movie. It was like that for finishers, sorry. And then we had like Icardi from Inter Milan. We flew him in. We had Aubameyang. We had Rashford. Who else was there? Chamberlain, Iwobi. Jeez, I can't remember. We flew them all in anyways, and then I was working on the story that will be behind this and how we would like, you know, involve, you know, grime music and instrumentals and the stuff that we would build for it and who we would invite. And then that was like my first project. And in that, when you're with them, it was mad, because like I was like, oh, I want to put a swoosh in the side of Aubameyang's head, so let's just fly the barber in. The next thing you know, you're just texting Aubameyang's agent, but like, fly the barber in. And he's like, cool, we'll fly the barber in.
He did it?
He flew the barber in
no
a jet.
Way.
And then he just cut his hair in the Hilton in Islington. And then
he agreed to it and everything, yeah.
Yeah, and then he had a swoosh to the side of his head here, because he does those haircuts like
yeah.
And he did it, and he was like, yeah. So then I started the story with like just him and the swoosh, and then the Hypervenom logo. And he's like, oh, we're ready for strike night. And then we did loads of stuff. But anyways, what I didn't plan for was that like he would then leave London, go back to Dortmund and bang in a hat trick, but not get a haircut. And like Dortmund or Puma, and Dortmund kicked the fuck off because he's like banging in a hat trick with a Nike sign on the side of his head.
Really?
Yeah, and it was mad. Like, it was all mainstream news, and the Dortmund were like fining him and all this. And then the Nike boys were like, great disruptive media. And I'm like, yeah,
you're getting a promotion, Shan McGinley.
So then, and then I kind of was there for like 6 months, and then I was really busy with my own stuff. And so then I kind of moved off, and since then I kind of contract work where it's like I'll come in and curate an idea or do a story. So I did like one for Luka Modric, Ronaldinho, and then some other ones hopefully in the future.
What's it like interviewing Ronnie?
Ronnie, we kind of just...
Does he speak English, like?
Yeah, he's a party animal, man. He loves a rave. That's why he's always in Ibiza with the real Ronaldo.
Does he?
Yeah, real Ronaldo's at DC10. Jack Master, everyone's got a picture with him.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, and Ronaldinho likes a rave as well. But I only worked with him really kind of briefly in terms of like...
Real Ronaldo. I love that. Real Ronaldo.
Yeah, Ronnie, real boy. And
the original.
yeah, we had him like drop in, like, so no one knew that he was going to come. He just, like, we had a place in Peckham in South London, and like we had like these kids playing football, and there was like a film crew around, and Eden Hazard and Iwobi and Shalaba and like some guy, like one of the guys from Ajax and stuff like that were all there, and like the kids were like kind of psyched that they're all there, and AJ Tracy, the grime artist, and a few other people were there. But what they didn't know was Ronaldinho was turning up. And that's what we did. Then we just had Ronaldinho just turn up in a Range Rover, walk out, and the crowd just went mental, man. Like people just started turning up, but we disclosed the location and everything, and then like told people Ronaldinho was going to be there online. Just like next thing you know, we're flooded like by people in London, but like Ronaldinho, and then like obviously Ronaldinho like did like was there for a little bit, played a bit of football, and then we like got him out of there, and then like it was kind of that idea of like the impact of like social media, where it's like people around London. I remember hearing it then in Shoreditch and stuff, like kids like walking by me saying, "Oh man, I swear, like Ronaldinho turned up in Peckham the other night." And everyone's like, "Nah, shut up." It was that kind of effect that they wanted to have. Yeah, and then Luka Modric was one for his 100th game. He was playing his 100th game for Croatia. And then, like, just flew out there and did a story with him.
So you interview these guys, or like
no? That's all behind the scenes. Yeah, so that's like coming up with an idea. So like like a music video director. So you direct a video for music, but with this, it's directing a story.
Yeah.
So coming up with dialogue and finding ways that they can get the product itself into another way. Because sometimes these players, they're quiet people. Like not everyone is going to be a Neymar. They're not going to be a big personality. Some of them, like a Luka Modric, is a quiet guy with like 3 kids. So you've got to find a way that you can maybe connect him to the consumer.
Is that tough at times? Sometimes
they're
not willing to play ball, or just their personality isn't there, and then
sometimes. So I mean, it's not really like you just got to figure out. Like that's why I was brought in to figure out the best way that we can tie them and like heighten their personality, and we work them. It's all about making people feel comfortable. Like you can't just turn around and go, "Oh, dribble that ball there," and make them do stuff that's just like on camera, like on key, or like
So what do you do? It's just
you got to treat them like a lot of times what was going on with a lot of brands, they were treating the athletes like they were actors.
Yeah.
So been like, you can't take Luka Modric into a situation and think that he's going to be Leonardo DiCaprio.
So what do you do differently? Like, is it the process beforehand?
Just just like come up with an idea that that's going to like definitely do something. Like you do things that are parts of the story. So like he had a 100 shirt that was going to be delivered in a custom shirt. So like as he was getting off the bus, in Croatia, we had like one of his mates, like that actually is his friend, fly up on a scooter from the team, fly up on a scooter with his other friend on the back and just hand him the thing, and he doesn't like know that's going to happen. And he's like, oh, and then like we're filming at the time, stuff like that. And then like, just like use, one of the ways I always used it was like find out. So if I'm going to do something with Neymar, for instance, like find out who his friends are. So Dani Alves. So try get Dani Alves involved in the story, so then they're more comfortable when you're around them, instead of like finding absolute strangers. Like the thing is, people, it's like anyone, if they film you with your mates, I'm going to get better content. But if I film you with a bunch of strangers, I'm not going to get the greatest content because you're not going to be as comfortable. So it's finding ways. And sometimes like Aubameyang, he's really comfortable because his brother's always there with him. So his brother's his best friend. So you don't even see that on camera, but that having those people there makes him more confident.
Yeah. And obviously
and not scaring them and making like just throwing cameras in people's faces.
But you obviously need to do that, right? But there must be times when you are sent to interview someone, and it's tough. Like you don't know, like they're not giving you much. Like what's your? Can you name who they are? Who are the toughest ones?
I noticed someone the other day, man. I went in to do an interview with John Boyega, and he's a guy from Star Wars, and he just did this film called Pacific Rim, and he's like Idris Elba's son in the movie. He's sick, such a nice guy. It was a different mode because I was like walked in, it's like an interrogation room. Walked in to this like small room in a hotel, and I was like, "Oh, where are the cameras and that? Like, are we bringing cameras?" They're like, "No, they have cameras." Go in, there's like studio film cameras everywhere. It's a dark room.
So this would be something that the journalist changes.
No, the film studio's in charge of it. Like you don't even have the content. So like walk in, sit down, and then John Boyega's in front of you in a chair, and he's cool. Like what a cool dude. We had a laugh, did a really cool interview. Like had him talking about gigs and Skepta because he's originally from Peckham and all that. But then I came out and I was talking to someone else I know, And they were like, man, because this other actor is in it, Scott Eastwood. And then like, I think his name's Scott. I don't know. But yeah, and then he was like devastated. And I was like, man, what happened, man? And you're right. He was like, I was like, how'd you get on with John Boyega? He was asking me. I was like, fucking sick, man. Like, unbelievable. I was like, how'd you get on with what's his face? And he's like, oh man, don't ask him about his dad. And then I was like, why? He's like, apparently, like, the dude's like that. His dad's Clint Eastwood. So like he doesn't been asked.
He doesn't like being associated with her?
Well, not associated. Just doesn't like been asked about him, because it's like every interview for the last 5 years has been like, oh, your dad, and then he's just like nah. He shuts off. He's like nah. And then if you're like, so this dude that I know like walked in and asked Clint Eastwood, asked about his dad, and his first question, like, and then the dude's just like nah. So he's not talking to them. So that's an instance of like
cut off, sent out.
Not even cut off, sent off. Just shite interview now. Then like, and he's devastated. Like it's hard because like it's just an up and coming presenter trying to do his thing. But at the same time, it's like just I would say just know what you're doing a lot. Like I mean, like sometimes people are talking about stuff in interviews. Like someone might be talking about something and they might have told Mixmag or they might have told Billboard or something like that. They've told them like, I don't like when asked this. So research that. Don't be the dude or the girl who comes in and asks that question. And
sometimes it works in your favor though.
Oh yeah, definitely. But know that it's
bad content of them shutting it down. Sometimes you might get blacklisted.
But you don't want to be that viral meme guy. Like because it's pretty dead. You know what I mean? That's like at the end of the day, you're not going to get a career out of that.
Yeah,
you're not going to get a career out of a meme. Like you're not going to get a career out of a viral moment where you're like Jennifer Lawrence tells you to fuck off on camera. Like it's like, oh, that's going to be fun amongst your mates, and then it might get 5 million views, but you're just going to be that guy you got told to fuck off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You're not going to be a presenter or a DJ if you're a DJ who like does something stupid on stage and you're not known for whatever else you do.
Has there ever been a time where something came up last minute, or like you just weren't prepared for an interview and you just winged it? Pretty much like me.
Definitely. Like, I can see it, man. It's on your face. It's all over your face. We'll have a word. We'll have a word. We'll have a word about this afterwards. I'm livid. But
he walked into it. He walked into it.
No, I've had it before. We used to do like 30 interviews in a day, right? And artists would come through, and then the PRs would be up to you in like festivals and stuff like that, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, interview my artist," and then you'd be like, "Yeah, I'll do it, whatever." And then back then I'd never do it now, but I had these like trigger questions of like, "Listen, I know what you do." Massively, but how about you tell them what you do? And I'd pick out what they said, and then I'd do it. I don't do it now, but like because you do a little bit more of who you're going to interview. But back then you didn't know who you're going to interview. Like someone walks up and PR and goes, "Oh, got this massive artist who's been signed," and you're doing interviews for a music channel that interviews everyone. You're going to be like, "Yeah, cool, I'll do it." And I've had to do that loads of times. So you find a way, but then just have a human conversation. Don't talk about the music. Just talk about the life and the tour and where they came from and how they got into it. And you're not even winging it. You just talk to them as a normal human being rather than being the guy who like asks a load of questions about stuff they don't have a clue about. Stick away from stuff you don't have a clue about.
Is there any nightmares along the way?
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. I think my biggest nightmare is always, like, even with the radio there, was like, doing interviews and then locking up, and because we used to edit them, film them, and, record the sound ourselves. And just do an interview and then been like, looking at the mic afterwards, just like, it's not on. It's never been on. And then, like, you just come out. But yeah, no, I've had ones. I had a situation with Pamela Anderson a while ago, actually.
Tell us more.
Oh yeah, it's just like backstage, some awards, and I don't know what it was. I said something and she picked it up wrong, and then like she just like blew a kiss at me and was like, "Yeah, right, see ya," and walked off. And I was like, "What
did you say? Was it
I don't know. I said she was I said she was my hero back in the day, and then she was like, "Oh, is that because I didn't wear much clothes or something?" And I was like, I don't know. And then she was like, "Yeah, whatever," and walked off. And then she was so like alert to the media, and I wasn't even trying to mess with her. And then I'm like, "Oh, Pam, could have been something special." You, Julian Assange, we would have got on great. But no, me and Pam. I mean, I hope we do.
But that was that on camera? No,
it's on Snapchat, but it didn't go through. Yeah.
But like, if that happens on camera and it goes out, like. That's.
I mean, at that stage,
how often do you look back and you go?
I mean, in these days with live streams, the thing I don't get is DJs these days, man. Like we did it once, we live streamed and a promoter watched it and was like, "No, not booking them. We live streamed us DJing and doing like a radio show, and it was shit, so bad, because the Wi-Fi was crap and the sound wasn't connected in properly into where the stream was going out.
Yeah.
So it was a shit show. And then like a promoter that we were going to work with like watched it and then told our agent. I was like, no, watched that the other day on Saturday, not a hope. And we lost a booking from it. So that, yeah, I watch like DJs out there right now. Like there's DJs just streaming themselves in a bar or doing warm-up gigs. And it's like streaming is a very volatile and like dangerous world right now in terms of streaming your stuff. So make sure it's shit hot. Like, make sure you've got a crowd. Make sure you're on the game when you're doing it, because people are streaming everything. And people don't want to see everything. Like, you know, shows that get streamed and stuff like that and going out and streaming. No one gives a shit if you're playing techno in some bar in Shoreditch and you're streaming it and it's just you and your mate coming up to your ear every 15 minutes to give you a drink. No one gives a shit, man. Just drop a mix on SoundCloud or just wait and make a sick mix. Look at people like Jack Master. Like he drops like, what, a couple of mixes a year? The master mix? Like do something like that. Like where it's really good. Like remember that like you have one impression with a lot of people. And if that impression is, oh yeah, I watched them one day on Facebook and it was like them in a bar, him and his mates, and it was shit. And I couldn't even hear the thing. Do you really think that person is going to give you a gig at Parklife next month? Like, do you know what I mean? They're not going to do that. So like be aware that like, you know, this social media thing's great, but it also can fuck you up if you don't do it right.
Before presenting, like sometimes you don't have the power to bury stuff. You know, it's out there. Like, basically, what is there anything you look back on now that you wish you could have buried?
Oh, yeah, that time there, we're talking about like where we went live and streamed a radio show.
And anything that was particularly like a big actor, DJ, you're like, this is my shot. I just didn't go down that well, and then
there's loads of that stuff, man. Like, you know, like it I mean, I suppose we're in an industry where, you know, drinking is completely part of the industry, because you work at night, you DJ, you know, you either like you're either at gigs and you get backstage because you know people, or like, do you know what I mean? Just be aware that like, you know, it's still work at the end of the day. Because I've got so many times where I just got absolutely pissed, started talking to some club owner or some agent or some DJ or some artist, and you're just like, nah, you're just some drunken idiot. Like, do you know what I mean? So remind yourself that like there's good parties, but you know, it's still work at the end of the day. It's still like you're out there like on your own brand or on your own self. Like you're like everything is going to lead to maybe an opportunity with someone, or just a friendship, or just a reputation where they respect you. Don't let getting fucked off your head or drinking be the demise of all the hard work that you've done. So all the work that you've done in the studio, all the radio shows you've done, all the 6 sets that you've done, all the interviews that you've done. Don't let you getting like smashed and like just being a real drunk idiot backstage at a festival or a club be the demise of all that work.
Are you speaking from experience?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It literally I've done it loads of times. But the thing I think everyone has. But it's like I did it loads of times. But it's like one thing I'd be like, when I look back, I'm like, man, I'd be way ahead of where I am now if I wasn't doing that. But is it not, I wouldn't be where I am now if I wasn't.
Is it not a fine line? Because one of the things that I can take from it is like you have kind of like you went backstage and you drank that whiskey with Ed Sheeran and you got in those positions because you were in those scenarios and you were partying. But then on the flip side of that, like
it's a balance, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like, it depends. Just know when you're supposed to do it. Like when I do that, when I jump backstage, I'm finished working, I'm having a laugh.
Yeah.
But when you're still working, or like, you know, you're still, you know, been around certain people that you want to work with in the end, like maybe just keep your head in your shoulders a bit.
Yeah,
definitely.
I suppose I want to finish up on kind of your approach and your approach to your career, and sort of life in general, because you know you have moved on and you're moving to LA. You know, and you know you've worked with some big people and you've got some big names. So like, what is your approach? It sounds like to me, anyways, that you've kind of you've just gone at everything. You saw Dr. Dre and you took your opportunity like that. So like, is that your continued approach as you get certain success? Do you just keep at that, or how does it evolve?
I mean, you become more calculated in terms of like, you know, what's the point in, you know, taking a shot and sending a radio show or an interview or, you know, a piece of work that you've done to, you know, Pamela Anderson. And what's the point in sending it to her? Or what's the point in taking a shot there? Be more calculated and you become more strategic. Not even in a bad way. You just become like more confident in what you're doing and the moves that you're going to make, and think ahead a lot more than, you know, impulse is amazing and you'll end up in the right place at the right time and stuff like that, but be a bit more strategic once you get to a certain level. So figure out who are the people that you want that can give you an opportunity that you should be impressing and where you should be. And then, yeah, I think moving forward, yeah, you become more calculated in terms of how you're going to do it. And then remember that like none of these people are going to turn you into a superstar. Not one of them. There's no one in the world who can make you into a star because it's you who does that. So whatever you want to be, whatever road or whatever field you want to be a star in or be the best at, the only person who can make you into that person is not an agent, not a manager, not anyone. It's you. It's like A$AP Rocky turned around to like, or Snoop Dogg's whole A$AP Rocky. He's like, stars aren't born. You know, stars aren't made, they're born. So he was telling him about him trying to help all his friends all the time and make them into stars. And he said, Snoop said he did the same thing. Like you can try do that for other people, but at the end of the day, it comes from them. So when you realize that you're actually, all of this time, you've been in control of your own destiny and like, you know, and also, you know, take it, if, for instance, Radio 1 don't want to work with you, then it's just because, you know, there's a bigger opportunity out there on the horizon that you have to work towards and make happen. Like it's every time that something doesn't happen or you don't get an opportunity, it was never your opportunity. Your opportunity in that situation was to learn from it and move on and keep working. Like that's it. Like you have to just keep working, keep your head down, keep focused and just like keep visualizing where you want to be. And it will happen. It always will happen. It's never going to pan out the way that you thought it would be or the road that you thought it was going to be, because the road that you thought it would be in the start is going to be really easy, because why would you imagine a terrible road for yourself or a really hard road? Everything's just a lesson, and it makes you harder. It makes, like, for example, when I used to be drinking backstage and getting like wrecked and stuff like that, had I been given the opportunity of, you know, that I have now, you know, I'd fuck it up because I wouldn't value it. I would want to go and get drunk backstage and, you know, go on stage really drunk or like, you know, do things like that. And it's fine for DJs sometimes. Some people can hack it and make it work, but some people, you know, sometimes you just got to keep your head on your shoulders and, you know, definitely for presenting, you know, you just can't do it. Like, who wants to be like, you can't just turn up and like, as in the radio version of Shan McGinley sitting on like doing an interview, pissed out of your head. It's not going to work, is it?
Yeah.
So it's like figuring out, you know, how you want to be perceived. Like, don't stifle yourself by doing something that's like, you know, seems like fun with your mates at the time. You know, think about ahead. Like, will Nike want to work with you 2 years on if you're, you know, just like getting wrecked or, you know, been destructive towards your journey or all the work that you've put in?
Yeah, well, look, it's been, you know, it's been really interesting to have you on the show because, as I said, it's really different. You know, we've never had someone from radio, a more presenting background. So yeah, it's been really good for anyone in Ireland. Like, where would they find your kind of stuff on a regular basis?
Yeah, just hit me up on Instagram, I suppose, Shan McGinley. Yeah, and then just check out the radio show, Sister Radio. And yeah, we just like, we're about to launch it soon. We just signed a new streaming partnership with this app called Wave. They're like based in America. And we're going to become the first, like, Mixmag Labs have signed, Owsla, who's Skrillex's record label and all that, is signed. The Fader signed, Hip Hop DX, a load of these kind of blogs and brands. So we're about to launch a kind of like TV show on there soon and some more content. We're going to be streaming radio shows and gigs live there. So yeah, just like keep an eye out for that, definitely.
Before we finish, like, you wouldn't have come this far if you weren't an excellent networker.
Yeah.
What's Shan McGinley's pointers for networking?
Oh, man. Just give it a shot, man. Like, you know what I mean? And but also have something in your back burner that you're doing. Do you know what I mean? There's like, you can network all day, but you know, unless you're doing something, unless there's something that they can respect within that, then it's never going to work. It's just like a fly in the water. So why are you talking to that person? Like, and don't, like, you know, yes, it'd be amazing to talk to the DJ or producer, but what's the point in talking to them if you can talk to the manager or the agent and learn from them and just ask for advice, man. Feedback is the way forward. That's what I always said to people. It's like, just get feedback on what you're already doing, but have stuff that you're already doing that they can look at. Have stuff that like is similar, because at the end of the day, like, it's the same when I meet like Dre and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? You're taking a shot at Dre, but at the end of the day, he was in the same position as me. Do you know what I mean? He was in the exact same position as me when he, you know, was doing NWA and they wanted to get it signed to a record label or anything like that, and he had a dream to make it, you know, as massive as it is now. So they respect it. Like, if someone comes up to me now, I'm like, yeah, look, I'm gonna give you a hand anyways. Like, just approach people in the right way. Like, don't be aggressive with them. Be like, you know, maybe ask for their email, just ask for advice, tell them what you're up to. Like, I remember Twin B, just like, he's like a A&R and like a radio presenter at One Extra. I remember meeting him at Brick Lane after he had an event, and I was telling him about like what I was doing. I like just talked to him, And he just turned around. He's like this, like to like one extra DJ, and he was just like, "What's your radio show like? What kind of stuff do you got?" I was like, "What?" He's like asking me because he's been there and he cares. Like, you know, he understands it, and like I respect him so much for just asking that one question. Even Ed Sheeran, like he said that if Damien Rice didn't, you know, be nice to him when he met him backstage and waited backstage to meet him, he said he doesn't know if he'd be where he is now. Like, whether you like Ed Sheeran's music or not, you got to respect the journey that these people are on. It's the same with like people like, you know, dissing Skrillex or Diplo. Yes, like a lot of them, like, you know, you might not support their music, but like Skrillex is someone who was 50 grand in debt, like with a, like living like in a squat house before he made his first album, like, and then like, you know, had a broken speaker when he was making it on, and then went and toured the world with it. And yeah, like a lot of people don't like his music, but like there's inspiration in that. It's like there's inspiration in anyone's moves, so maybe take that apart instead of just slagging them off. Just be like, right, what have they done that I could be inspired by? Like, what has Jackmaster done? Like, Jackmaster has stuck to, like, he has literally not conformed and gone in and been like, oh, I'm supposed to make music, I have to make music, I have to release music. No, he just went out and said he was the best DJ in Europe, proved he was the best DJ in Europe, and is, like, you know, one of the best DJs in Europe, in my opinion. Probably in techno, yes, 100% he is. Yeah. But like, he went out and showed them. So that's it. Like, that's someone who took the opportunity, but also was doing the shit anyways. Be active, be doing it, be practicing to be the best. Like, if you got an opportunity to be a radio presenter tomorrow morning, you got to be able to show that when you get in for that pilot, you're going to be fucking amazing at it. And from then, everything else. When people see the talent and they see the hard work, they, you know, talent and hard work are probably, that's the potion. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the winning potion. Like, it's not going to be overnight, but it will happen. You can guarantee that.
Yeah, that's good advice. And honestly, like, just like, thanks man for coming down.
Anytime, boys. Where are we going for pints?
Foley's.
This fella owes me a pint. I'm telling you.
After that slide,
after slide eggs, man. Jesus, I'm devastated.
Well, look, we have to.
I'm never going to endorse this man on LinkedIn.
There's people outside the studio waiting to get in. Seriously, thanks for coming down.
Big up 4-4.
100%. 100%.
Always Ireland every day. Sligo,
indeed, man, indeed.